We're getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election.
And nearly 24 hours after that stunning moment, after the former president falsely declared that he did win the election, his son-in-law and top advisor Jared Kushner woke up in their Kalorama mansion and told his wife, Ivanka Trump, it is time to leave Washington. That is according to new reporting by our next guest, who looks at how the president's son-in-law washed his hands of former President Trump well before January 6th. Of course, this comes as we are expecting to hear taped testimony from the former top advisor at some point during the January 6th Select Committee's scheduled hearings, which will begin tomorrow night. Joining us now is the author of that piece, Peter Baker, chief White House correspondent for the New York Times. It's just an extraordinary piece of reporting, Peter, so I appreciate your joining us to discuss it. Tell us a little bit more about how Jared Kushner, as you described, washed his hands of the Trump presidency. What did it look like?
Yeah, it's rather extraordinary. Basically, on Thursday of election week, basically before Joe Biden had even been declared the winner, Jared Kushner and his wife Ivanka Trump saw which way the election was going. And there was no interest in their part in participating in this fight to claim that somehow it had been stolen. They don't believe it was stolen. And they have made clear they don't believe it was stolen to associates and allies. And basically, Kushner decided that this wasn't going to be a fight he was going to wage. And he told the president of the United States, he told his father-in-law that if Rudy is going to be, meaning Giuliani, if Rudy is going to be the guy running this, then I don't want any part of it. I can't help you, in effect, is what he said. And this really goes to the larger story of what happened in this post-election period. How is it that the president of the United States, waged this campaign to basically overturn the will of the voters and overturn an election? In part, it was because people around him who knew the election hadn't been stolen seeded the field, people like Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, and others who were filling the president's ear with all these farcical, false claims about stolen ballots and all of that.
Well, and I think that's what's so remarkable about your reporting is that you peel back the curtain on this moment that, at least in terms of the conversations between the former president and his son-in-law, have just been shrouded in secrecy for a long time. So it's just incredible. Look, we know that Jared decided to focus on the Abraham Accords. He was flying back from the Middle East on January 6th. And you write that when he arrived home, he got a call from Kevin McCarthy, and you write, quote, asking Mr. Kushner to persuade the president to do something. We need help, Mr. McCarthy insisted. Of course, this is going to be part of what we anticipate the American public will hear once the hearings begin. How impactful could Kushner's testimony be?
Well, I think it's important, and it'll be interesting to see what the January 6th committee, uses from their testimony that they had from him. He's never spoken, Jared Kushner's never spoken about this publicly. There's no, account from him about his his views of this and his actions or lack of action in that period. I think that's going to be a relevant thing when the committee outlines its version of the of this episode. And it's important to hear, as you say, what happened on January 6th. In that case, he wasn't in the country for most of the day. When he landed, he goes home. He's going to get in the shower to rest after a long trip. He had just negotiated a diplomatic rapprochement between Qatar and its neighbors, and you get this panic phone call from Kevin McCarthy saying, "Come help." So he turns off the shower. He goes to the White House. By that point, it was probably too late. Ivanka, his wife, had already persuaded the president to put out a video. It wasn't a very compelling video from the point of view of a lot of people on Capitol Hill, because it told the rioters to go home, but it also said, "We love you. You're special." It repeated the false claims about the election, and Kushner at that point concluded that was as far as the president was going to go.
Very quickly, what was Ivanka doing during this time? How did she walk that line?
Yeah, she didn't want any part of this. I mean, in the sense that she refused to speak at the Ellipse, the rally on the Ellipse earlier in the day on January 6th. But then when she saw the president, her father-in-law, berating Mike Pence one more time on the phone, trying to get him to use his position as president of the Senate to overturn the election, she became concerned that was so harsh at that moment that she decided to accompany her father-in-law to the rally just to try to keep things from going too far. But she didn't speak, and the rest of the day, as the events on Capitol Hill transpired, she went up and down the stairs of the West Wing trying to get him to put out increasingly stronger statements calling off the attackers, but to the frustration of the people who thought he never went far enough.
All right, Peter Baker, an extraordinary piece of reporting. Thank you for joining us.